What's up, guys? It's Andy Priscilla.
This is Director X.
This is Amberly Lago.
This is Sina Sadaf.
Yo, this is Apathy of the Demigods.
This is Brad Lea.
Michael Francis here.
This is Chris Voss.
Yo, this is Charlie Tuna.
This is Ryan Serhan.
This is James Harris.
Hey, this is Steve Sims.
Hey, what's up? It's Billy G.
And you are listening
to the Run
GPG podcast.
Stop playing. Please stop.
Welcome back to the Run GPG podcast. Welcome to the special edition of the Run GPG podcast. This is a milestone episode. It's our 50th episode, and we decided to do something different today. It's a look back at some of the highlights from the past guests. I've picked some highlights over the past couple of years. It's been very difficult to do that. There was so much to choose from, a lot of content, but we're going to do our best here as time permits to go through these. And I'm pleased to say that I have a special host with me today, one of my friends who I look up to very much as it relates to podcasting, and that's Brad Lea. Brad, welcome to this milestone episode of the Run GPG podcast.
Well, thanks for having me, David Morrell. It's nice to be here.
Have you done this? Have you ever tried a best of for dropping bombs?
No, but I love the concept.
Yeah, we love the concept too. And we're happy
The critique part is the best part.
Exactly.
It's almost like when you go to YouTube and you see those reaction videos, they get really popular. This is very similar to that.
Yeah, it might be. I'm expecting some like fire takes. I know you're one of the funniest dudes in the business, but before we start, I did want to shout you out. I mean, I really look up to you as it relates to podcasting. I really appreciate what you did with Dropping Bombs. We've had a lot of the same guests, and I'm an avid listener of Dropping Bombs. So anyways, I wanted to shout you out before we begin. Again, Nathan's helping us out today. He's on the wheels of steel. He's a technical director today, playing the videos, so I don't have to worry about that. But again, we'll see how we go with this. In theory, it should be fantastic. We're also debuting a new intro. Nathan, do you have that queued up?
Here we go.
All right, here we go. It's just the audio though, audio.
G's up, the Jeep. G's up, the Peep. G's up, the Jeep.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are now rocking with the world famous Run GPG podcast with your host, David Morrell.
Peep, Jeep.
Okay, so that's the new intro. That's the extended version, Brad. But you know, it was produced and engineered by hip hop legend and sample king Apathy. He's got a new album coming out with Jadakiss. His latest release is Where the River Meets the Sea. It's an absolute banger. Go check it out. What'd you think of the intro?
Damn good for like a tune, like a jam.
Yeah, it was extended version. But anyways, that's a new intro.
The extended version is freaking awesome.
Yeah, it's not bad. Let's kick this thing off. Let's go back over the last, I think, 2 years and pull some of the highlights. This is going to be as chronological as we can be, except for the first clip. And this is a special one. This is a very special clip. This is the first clip. We're going to kick this off. Nathan, if you want to cue up that video, we'll see here. You'll see as he shares the screen. Very young looking Brad Lea. This is the first clip. Nathan, hit play.
If you want to change what you're getting, right, you have to change what you're doing. Yeah? And if you want to change what you're doing, you have to change what you believe, because what you believe determines how you behave and what you do. So in order to change what you believe, how do you change what you believe? You've either been taught that, right? Or you learned it growing up, or someone instilled that into you. So how do you change these things that you believe? Well, you have to seek knowledge. You have to question. You have to challenge. Like sometimes some of the things that I've tried to disprove ended up being proved. So at the end of the day, man, every single day I would wake up and at least read 10 to 20 pages of a book every single day, listen to a podcast on the way to work, every single day. And it doesn't matter if you don't agree with them. That's how you change your beliefs. You seek knowledge. And if you're not seeking knowledge, man, you're missing the boat entirely.
Great clip. So that was our introduction to Brad Lea. And believe it or not, that was episode 12. So that was a long time ago. You look a little younger, Brad. But, I think that's what people like you and I are doing on these podcasts. Week to week, we are, talking with very successful people. Right. And I like the point you made about, seeking to disprove and you end up proving the point. Right. So I believe we should look at things with an open mind. There's a lot in that 2 minutes. There was a lot there. So we kicked it off with a little Brad Lea clip. Thoughts?
It was fantastic. That dude, I'm telling you, is a smart son.
Smart son bitch. He little less gray though. I don't know if you know.
No, I just didn't have my 5 o'clock there, dude.
Well, let it flow. I've got gray flowing now. I shave it off, but let the gray flow. Let the gray.
I do, bro. Come on, man.
Okay, let's get into it then. First clip we're gonna play is from episode 10, all the way back to episode 10. Out of all the podcast episodes we filmed, this is actually one of my favorite clips, and I think it's one of Nathan's as well. Here we have our friend Ryan Stewman talking about the death of the real estate agent. And I thought this was a fantastic clip. I've showed this many times. I think it's critical that anybody in the real estate business pay attention to this clip.
I am telling you, unequivocally, whether you want to be mad at the messenger or not, they are going to put real estate agents out of business. The real estate agent, as you know it today, Sally, who shows up at the house and signs papers and sticks a sign in the yard, she's going to be homeless if that's her process 5 years, not a half a century from now, 5 years from now. If Sally's don't learn how to get online and build a machine, guess what? As soon as Zillow's robots just bid on houses, would I pay you 6% for? And let me tell you what, as a real estate investor, the biggest line item on every flip that I do is that real estate agent's commission. If you can tell me there's an easier way to save $30, $40, $50,000 per transaction when you really don't feel like, as a consumer, I know because I'm on the inside, but as a consumer, they never feel like you deserve that amount of money. They never do. They never do. You're the second, real estate agents, listen to me now, you're the second most despised salesperson on the planet behind car people because they see the work you do and then you get 30, 20, 10, whatever $1,000. People don't like that. They don't. And so I'll tell you this, not to be an to you, but people are trying to get rid of you. Listen. I sat at a meeting with multiple billionaires 2 weeks ago, and the entire meeting was, how do we take agents out of the game?
Yeah. I love that clip. Wasn't that good?
I was one of the billionaires in the room he was talking about. We're trying to figure out how to get rid of all the agents in the world.
Yeah, but
I would say we're promoting a certain thing, but I don't want to get the episode banned off the bat. No, dude, Ryan Stewman, man, he's got a good pulse on the industry. I think what he's saying is real, and I think it's happening quicker than we think. But to me, if I'm a realtor, I'm going to just create a unique proposition that only I can give, because there has to be something of value connected to me personally, or I'm not doing the job right.
Yeah, 1000%. I mean, we've been saying pretty much the exact same thing as Ryan for years now. We believe that there's 3 major things that have changed the real estate industry in a big way in the last few years. And as a real estate professional, unless you know what those changes are, you're going to be in big trouble in the coming years unless you adapt and change. And to your point, you do need a unique selling proposition. You need to adapt and change. It's one of the reasons we're leading the way in crypto and Bitcoin and blockchain technology as they relate to real estate. There's a lot there, but I think the average agent who doesn't know what's happening needs to be frightened, needs to pay close attention to what Ryan said and to what you said. It's an absolute fact. The real estate industry is changing. Agents are becoming more obsolete, right? So you're going to have to articulate what makes you valuable. Why is someone going to pay you, right, to sell their house or to buy a house for that matter? So I think this is important. I think people need to really pay attention to that. And I think that was a profound clip. And that was all the way back, more than a year ago, that episode. So I thought that was a really good clip to bring up.
Question.
Yeah.
Can't agents determine if they want to take less?
100%. Yeah.
So why don't you just find an agent that'll take less?
Well, there you go. Yeah. People do it all the time.
Yeah. Not to mention, or find an agent that'll not kick you back the money, but like, for example, if I buy a new house, 9 times out of 10, I want a new, set of furniture. I want it designed. Nothing feels better than a fully designed kick-ass house. You ever buy a house, go in there and put the furniture in there, and now you got a nice turd. It's like, dude, it doesn't look right. Doesn't feel at home. You got freaking lame furniture in there, and it's like, damn, dude, I put all my money on the house. Now I can't furnish it. Well, dude, if that sales agent freaking decided, hey, yeah, I'm gonna make 80 dimes on this, I'll throw 40 of it and get a designer friend of mine and go in there and just pimp out your house up to 40 grand worth. Like, dude, that's the agent I'm picking. Zillow ain't doing that.
Yeah.
But if I could save the 50 and go do it myself on Zillow, I would just use Zillow. So what would be the difference? The difference is only one thing: relationship. That's it. Because Zillow, I don't have a relationship with. Zillow, I can log on, pick a house, press a button, boom, save 80 grand. Let's say that's the truth. Well, there's no relationship there. I just save 80 grand. So if I have a relationship on top of it, that's the only differentiator. And I think that's what's going to keep people going to realtors, is the relationship that they have and or create. And Zillow is not going to be doing that.
Yeah, I think relationships will always be a part of real estate. However, what you described is actually the very definition of a unique selling proposition, right? $40,000 house package or something like that, something unique, right? That makes somebody want to work with you as opposed to the next agent. So you just described that. So good breakdown. I think we're on a roll. We're just getting warmed up. As we get warmed up, we move to episode 18. Episode 18, about a year ago, we're talking here about the stupidity of the 4-hour work week with our friend, Grant Cardone, Brad. Listen to what Grant Cardone had to say. 4-hour work week. Let's hear what he had to say about that 4-hour work.
I can already tell you what he's going to say, because I probably said it to him.
Okay,
go ahead.
Let's see.
So the 10X rule is a real thing. It's not an idea. It's not a good idea. It's not like the 4-hour work week. Sounds good, but ain't nobody going to do that ever. It sounds good. It sold a lot of books because it's a great title, but Elon doesn't do the 4-hour work week, and he doesn't recommend it. Warren Buffett recommends reading 4 hours a day. But we got popular books in our culture today saying, hey, work 4 hours. That's stupid. It's ridiculous. And it's why the middle class America is not getting ahead, because they're getting hoodwinked by people that want to love them a little bit, because people are soft today.
Dude, good old Uncle G, dude. He's awesome. Well, number one, the book's not telling you to work 4 hours. So I don't know where he's getting that, but I see what he's saying. And I do agree with him. There's a lot of out there right now that is telling you that's just not really true or applicable, and people are falling into it. The 4-hour work week, I mean, I read that a long time ago, so I don't know if I'm correct. You'll have to correct me if I'm wrong, but the book's basically showing you how to get out of your business and work in and on it instead of in it. It's like kind of like the E-Myth. 4-hour work week. I don't think he's trying to get you to work 4 hours a week, is he?
Nathan, have you read it recently?
Yeah, I have. And yeah, that's the idea. That's the idea.
Work 4 hours?
Well, to get out of your business, work, on it instead of in it.
Yeah. But he's not advocating working 4 hours, because like Grant's using that as a good example of stupidity, because dude, you ain't doing 4 hours. Okay. And that's what Grant's real message was. But I'm what you call literal Lee. I literally take questions literal, and your question, when you told me to jump on here and critique, well, or not critique, but just, review with you. He said that, that dude's trying to tell you to work 4 hours. No, he's not. But I agree with Grant. You can't work 4 hours and win, at least likely, because guess what? It is possible. See, that's another thing, Morrell. Anything's possible, bro. And guess what? You should have an ambition to work 4 hours a week. Okay. That should be something that you strive for. I disagree with Grant in that, but Grant's not saying that. Grant is saying you can't work 4 hours and really kick ass, which I agree. So even though I like to argue with Grant, because me and him are like brothers putting each other in a headlock, but he's right. I like what he's saying. And I would say that is true. You don't expect to really seriously build an empire by working 4 hours. That's for sure.
Yeah. To your point though, the greats, they do seek knowledge, right? And And in his words, middle-class America is getting hoodwinked because they're soft.
That's a good word, isn't it?
It is a good. I've been using it ever since I heard him say it. So
hoodwinked.
They are getting hoodwinked because they're soft, right? You got to put the work in. That's facts. Do you believe society as a whole is soft?
Yes. I believe that as soon as we stopped giving first place, second place, and third place trophies, and then the rest of you were losers, I believe when the parents stopped whipping our asses with a belt, I believe that we are soft. Yes.
Yeah. I think that's been a common complaint about society these days is we're a little soft, a little sensitive. Okay. Did you also know that Grant predicted the future? Let's play that clip.
People are going to be living in communities in the future. You're going to automate your car. You might not even have a car there. You're probably going to call up. Some automated car is going to come pick you up. And they're going to Uber automate. I mean, there's a chance in the next 10 or 15 years, we go into the highest unemployment we've ever seen in our entire lifetime. 10, 12% unemployment.
Yeah.
People have their food delivered to their houses. It's going to be unit number 2202. You're going to go to your swimming pool. Somebody's going to clean it for you. They're going to mow the lawn for you. There's going to be a theater there. You can go to the theater. You're not going to go to the theater down the street. You're probably not going to even go to the theater at the apartment complex. You're probably just going to watch it on your phone.
Now, watching that, Brad, do you think the pandemic changed what the future might look like? You talked about migration, cities specifically. But since the pandemic, people have been leaving the cities, looking for farmland, living off the land, right? Rural.
Yes. When was that video taken? You say predicted the future. When was that taken?
Pre-pandemic.
Oh, because I don't think the pandemic spurred on AI and automated Uber. I think that was coming, and it's not only coming, but it's here. There's definitely driverless cars, driverless trucks. AI is going to make a big difference, and that's what's going to, knock out unemployment. I think as unemployment numbers are low, I think artificial intelligence will literally knock out 50% of the workforce. 50%, dude.
Yep.
That's why it's very important that people figure out what skills you need to possess that automation's not going to try and attack, or at least first. I mean, dude, right now, it's unbelievable what they're doing with AI. Okay. And again, artificial intelligence, all it is a computer program that's getting to the conclusion or the answer faster than human beings can. And that's automated, and it's artificial though. So that means like actual intelligence, I think, is more valuable than artificial intelligence, because it's actual intelligence that's programming the artificial intelligence. The question is if the artificial intelligence can compute faster, which it can, they're saying that like in 3 to 5 years, artificial intelligence will be smarter than any human on the planet. And then once it's posed a question like, how do we solve pollution? The artificial intelligence will be so intelligent that it will point blank period realize that eliminating humans is the answer. And now people are like, oh my God, we're going to be eliminated by artificial intelligence. Well, if you weaponize it, you will be. Just don't weaponize artificial intelligence, man. Let them think we're the problem, but don't give them the ability to eliminate us.
Imagine if they made a series of movies about that.
They have.
That would, what?
Oh, yeah. Dude, there's a lot of movies out there like this.
First of all, it was Terminator I was referencing. That is the actual premise of the movie, is artificial intelligence eliminating humans. And, incidentally, Brad, Elon Musk has been talking about this. I believe they call it singularity, right? Or whatever they call it, when artificial intelligence actually figures out that humans are the problem. It's a danger. It's a little scary, Brad. So let's move on to something a little bit more positive. Let's do it. I think we're going to skip over Jeff Staple. If you're listening to this episode, go back and listen to episode number 21. Jeff Staple, one of my personal heroes in terms of branding and marketing. He created the Pigeon logo. and created the Pigeon Dunk with Nike, one of the most in-demand shoes to this day. I think on StockX, it's $50,000, that shoe, if you can find it. So episode 21 with Jeff Staple, The Business of Hype. Episode 28 was one of my personal favorites of all time. That was with Brad Lea as well. That was the COVID edition. Let's play one clip from that, Adapting to the Crisis. Do you mind playing that? Because this was so good, Brad. I don't know if you remember this episode. You filmed it from your home because we were all in lockdown, and you said something really, really good in this clip, and I want to play it because it was really important.
Now, the fact that COVID forced you to do it means that this crisis is just causing people to innovate, causing people to change and adapt. People say, it's the strongest that survive. It's not. It's not the strongest. It's not the smartest. It's the one most quickly to adapt. And that's why I tell people, quit contemplating why it's happening, but just realize it's happened. And once you accept that it's happened, now you can start figuring out, okay, what do I need to do to adapt?
So the title of that episode, Brad, if you remember, was Navigating Business and Sales in a Pandemic. So at that time, when we actually filmed that, there was so much uncertainty at that time, right? So it was good to get the perspective of successful entrepreneurs like yourself, right? The most successful people are the ones that are the quickest to adapt. That was the point you made. And I think that came through loud and clear.
No objections to that clip.
Okay, let's move on. Have you ever wondered, Brad, what a first date with Grant Cardone might look like? What does a first date with Grant Cardone look like?
I remember our first date.
Do you with Grant or?
Yes.
Okay, you remember your first date. Let's let Elena in episode 30 tell us what her first date with Grant Cardone was like.
Very predictable. He found out at that time I was a sporting clay competitive shooter. So I used to shoot trap and sporting clay, and I've always sucked at skeet, but sporting clay and trap was my deal. I was a competition shooter at that time. And so he found out that that's where I spent all my spare time. And he left a message on my machine that last time and was like, oh, I rented the shooting range if you want to come, because it was closed every Monday or whatever day that was. And so that was the phone call that I called him back because I was, shallow. And I was like, oh, really?
Yo, really? So ever rented a shooting gallery for a date, Brad?
No, but, Grant definitely, married up in that deal. But Grant's also a closer, dude. He understood. He found out what the hell she valued, and he gave her the value she wanted, which was, in this case, shooting, right? She loved to shoot. So he brought her on a platter what she loved. Dude, he's a closer. Like good for Grant, man. But when I was watching that video, I just kept thinking, damn, dude, why is Elena she should end up a movie star. Now that they're billionaires, Grant should produce her a movie because that was her dream. And Elena kind of got behind Grant to help him with his dream and kind of quit the acting, which was her dream. So now that Grant made it and they're all freaking billies or close to it, Grant needs to break off a piece of that Kit Kat bar and go produce a movie so Elena now can realize her dream because the world needs to see her radiance.
Well put, Brad. I like that. That was, what was the craziest thing you've done on a date? Actually, what's interesting is Elena was telling us that Grant called her every month for a year.
That's called follow-up.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I was about to say, you just took my punchline, Brad.
Oh, sorry.
It's called follow-up, everyone. But Brad, can you think of the craziest thing? I was trying to think about the craziest thing I did on a date before I married my wife, and I can't remember.
When you say crazy,
I don't know.
I might go somewhere else, but I've done some, hey, me and Grant are very similar when it comes to personality and closing ability. I taught him everything I know. No, just joking. One time I filled up a girl's office with balloons, it wasn't her office. She worked somewhere. And I think it was 8,000 balloons it took to fill it up. But she went to lunch and I had somebody go in there and fill up her office, her whole entire office with balloons. That was kind of crazy. She loved that. What else have I done? Man, I can think of so many that were like out of the, not normal. Let's just say that. Like I've sent literally 20 dozens of roses because you want the shock and awe, man. You want everybody sends a dozen roses. And thank you for that. I miss you. I want to see you again. Nobody sends 20, somebody can take someone to a shooting range. Nobody shuts the down for a private session. You know what I'm saying? Like, look at these celebs with the dough when they're asking people to marry them. They're renting stadiums and they're having tables brought into the center of a stadium you can't even get into after hours. They're doing, just next level. And that's the whole thing is like, be next level, man. Think next level, act next level.
That's great advice. We call that UPOD. Under promise, over deliver. Moving on to episode 31, mutual friend of ours, Mr. Weldon Long. Now, in this clip, Weldon talks about clarity when it comes to money goals, relationship goals, and health goals. Getting specific. Let's play this clip about clarity.
You got to get ultimate clarity, like ridiculous clarity on what you want in 3 areas of your life: your money, your relationships, and your health. What do you want? Specifically, what do you want? Like narrow it down. And not 10 things, not 100 things, 1 or 2 things in each category, right? 1 or 2 money goals, 1 or 2 relationship goals, 1 or 2 health goals. You got to get focused on specifically what you want. And then you got to say, okay, what 1 or 2 things can I do every single day to get that? Not 10 things, not 100 things, what 1 or 2 leveraged activities can I do every single day to move closer to that goal? That's the essence of focus.
I got to say, Weldon Long is one of the best speakers when it comes to like, getting you motivated and getting clarity and goal setting. And his story is so impactful, right? He's got such a profound story. And the way he talks about clarity there, getting really specific with your goal setting, I think was such a profound point. That's why I pulled it there. He talked about what I wrote down here, 1 or 2 leveraged activities every day that can help you move you closer to your goals. That's the essence of clarity, right? It's the compound effect. So those little things you do in your everyday life in those areas that move the needle in goal setting. Would you agree?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Technically, yeah.
Okay. Technically, yes. In theory, no.
Well, I mean, it just depends on in what circumstance. Like in a lot of cases, dude, people's goals are what's screwing them up because they're setting them too high. They're not hitting them. Then people rationalize, good job, do better next time. Well, at least you tried. You lost, and you keep losing over and over and over, and you become what? Anybody want to guess? What do you become?
Are you talking about discouragement?
If you lose a lot, if you're known,
become a loser. You become a loser, Brad.
That's right. Yeah. You become a loser.
Yeah.
So when people are teaching these goal setting things, it's tricky because if you look at it in a particular, perspective, the people should lower their goals and start hitting them more often. They need to rack up the wins, right? So you can get as clear as you want, but hey, I'm a billionaire. No, you're not. You haven't even made $1 million yet, folks. And I know you guys don't F-bomb it, but that one slipped out.
It's okay. We've got a good editor, Brad. It's all good.
Yeah, so to me, bro, clarity is important. So technically, yes, because I do preach the same thing. I mean, there's so many people that don't even know what success looks like, yet they're out there trying to get it. That would be the equivalent of me telling you to go into a room full of 1,000 people and find the person, and you don't even ask what they look like. You just walk in there and you're looking around. You have no clue what they look like. You're going to be in there forever. Why not stop and figure it out? So I do preach clarity. I just don't know if it's like all you need is the clarity. No. There's steps, man. And one of them is racking up the wins. You want to become a winner. You know how you become a winner? Quit being a loser. You know how you quit being a loser? Quit losing. Okay, so if you set a goal, I'm going to do $100,000 this week, and you come in at 92,000, dude, you can rationalize all the shit you want. That's a loss. Mm-hmm. So if me being the, common sense guy I am, well, how do you stop losing? Well, stop setting the goals that high. Has anybody ever told you to lower your goals and it's actually good for you? Like, can you make $1 today? Okay, go out and make $1. You make $1. Dude, that's a win. That's a win. I'm telling you, that's a win. And subconsciously, it's a win. And even though it's insignificant, it's still a win. So you start racking up those wins, and then you start standing a little bit more proudly, and you start to realize, hey, I deserve more. And then guess what happens? Miraculously, you start to do more. You start to talk more. You start to think more. You start to do more. You start to make more. You're like, holy moly. And what does that do? That causes momentum. So now you start walking around, and then next thing you know, people start putting you back in your place. Who the hell do you think you are? You, of all people, need to, so you get rid of those negative people, and then you get clarity on where you're going so you can make sure you get there and you can visualize it on a daily basis. And then you just seek new information to become more valuable every day. I think those things are all of what that small conversation kind of eclipsed. So that's why when you said, is it true? Yeah, because again, his part is in there, but it's not just that. It's more than that. You have to forgive yourself for all the crap you pulled on yourself and other people. You have to commit to do what you say you're going to do from this point forward. You have to rack up the wins to get in your head that you're a winner, because you cannot erase the memories, but you can replace the memories. So you have to become a winner, and then you have to freaking get rid of all the people that are going to try to convince you different, and stop negatively talking to yourself about it. And then you need to get clarity, which is what he talked about. So his 3 things, yes, technically, but not completely. Does that make sense?
It does.
Because I love old Weldon, dude. And you're right. He is a good, slick talker. But at the end of the day, a lot of these times, because I've worked with all of them. Like Weldon's a client, Grant's a client. I got a lot of clients, and they're all top level people. Weldon's awesome, dude. Like you see him on stage, dude, he'll make you cry. Literally, his story's amazing. But usually when you kind of condense down what they're saying, they're all saying the same thing. And the reason why is because lessons, success leaves clues. Like I'll say the same thing. He'll say it more eloquently than I will, but I'll say the same thing. Dude, you got to get clarity. Yeah. But where's the rest of it? Give me a framework that I can follow. Give me the tactical steps that I can do. Someone comes to me and says they want confidence. I say, forgive yourself, commit, rack up the wins, weed out the idiots, get clarity and visualize, and seek new information. Do that for 120 days. You're going to think I changed your life. I didn't. Guess who did? You did. Because all I can do is give you the information to do it. You're the one that has to do it. So when people hit me up all the time thanking me about changing their life, they think I'm being humble when I say I didn't, you did. It's the truth, man. The only person that can help you, David, is you.
Well, that was a clinic. That wraps up this episode. Jokes. No, that was fantastic. That was a good breakdown. In his defense, though, he did talk about 1 or 2 leveraged activities every day as well. So yeah.
Those are called habits.
Habits, yes. But Brad, you did sound
activity. I don't even know what that means. Leveraged activity.
It means you can do it over and over again. And you know what, Brad?
That's a habit. Why don't you just say habit?
Okay, habit.
Yeah, form the right habits and you'll get the right results.
You sounded like Dr. Maxwell Maltz.
Well, I have read Psycho-Cybernetics.
Actually, you pointed out something, and then we'll move on from Weldon. Actually, we had another couple of clips we don't have.
By the way, I highly recommend you guys go read Weldon's books.
Yes.
If you guys haven't saw that episode, I'd go listen to all of it, because he's just taking a clip, so it's easy for me to, pick it apart. But by the way, in defense, you don't need to defend Weldon, dude. That guy's
yes, I do. Yes, I need to defend him. No, he's a friend. No, it's jokes, Brad. It's jokes. But you know what, though? You were actually touching on something that I thought was really profound. We had a session this morning with Ricky Blair from Platform 7. And to your point about racking up the wins or, the losses, his point that he made this morning on that session, I don't know if you remember, Nathan, but he was talking about focusing on the process, right? And the daily habits without thinking about the results necessarily, right? And that's what a lot of athletes do. Kobe Bryant, he played a clip from Kobe Bryant. They asked him this question, Brad. Check this out. They said, is it the drive to win or the fear of losing that gets you to put in the hours, the practice? And is that what drives you to be the best? He said, neither. He said, neither. He says, I'm there to learn. every game and every practice. It's about learning. It's about the process of perfecting the game. So he goes, it's not about winning or losing. He goes, in fact, there's no such thing as losing. You're learning.
Who said this?
Kobe Bryant. Man, you can't fault that. I thought that was fantastic. So we'll just leave it there, guys. We'll leave it there.
Listen. Here's a good piece of advice for anybody listening. Okay.
Yep.
Look at what people like have accomplished. So like sometimes because me and Grant, go way back. Sometimes I'll pick on Grant, for example. But when it boils down to like being dead serious, if someone said, Brad, what do you think? Well, listen, I would say, look at their results. Grant in the real estate, dude, you should be listening to what Grant's doing. You should be emulating what Grant's doing. When it comes to marketing and branding, dude, you should be emulating what Grant's doing. That's what I'm doing. I mean, I didn't get it directly from Grant. I got it from Grant, Gary Vee, and the rest of the world, like Ty Lopez. Like, dude, if you want to build a massive personal brand, guess what? You need to be in everybody's face. Well, first of all, you need content to do that. So film a lot of content every day, all day. Then you got to figure out what are the outlets. I call this the content flow. Then you got to figure out where it goes out. Well, you should be on every channel. You should be putting it on every channel. Most people are picking one or two at the most. They're not making much content at all, if any. So you make a lot of content. You pick out the outlets for it. You add the creative and the consistency. That's who's editing and the titles and the words that you're choosing. And then you throw it out there in massive amount of quantity. Don't listen to the hate. And you'll blow up just like Grant did, just like Ty did, just like Gary Vee did. Everybody will. Now, someone says, well, no, they have to have a personality. Not necessarily. I promise you, dude, even the blandest, most boring turd on earth does that. He or she will get their little tribe of boring ass people that love boring ass people. And he will be the most famous boring ass person you've ever met. So when people hear that, they're like, well, that makes it too easy. Dude, it is that easy. The GPG podcast going up through the ranks, dude, you had to start it in order for that to happen. Mm-hmm. And then your little clips that you grab from it, like the ones we're watching, those are clips that can be put on YouTube, searchable clips. Next thing you know, a year from now, someone clips that, they see that clip, they go, oh, this Brad Lea guy is unbelievable. Oh, who's this Grant Cardone guy? Let me look him up some more. Next thing you know, they're investing in Cardone Capital. All from what? The content that David Morrell put out, for Pete's sake. So when we think that, why aren't we all making more content? Why don't we all have a content flow?
Yeah. And I think you're a good example of that, Brad. I mean, you put out a lot of content. People pay attention to you. They follow you, and
not as big as these other, gurus in the world.
Well, listen, man, you just referenced.
But I had to start, and it's starting. Yeah. So guess what? Check back in 3 years.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with you.
4 years. Like when I'm messing with Grant, people go, he's got a jet. You don't. I'm like, dude, he's 62. Okay. Come see me when I'm 62. I'll probably have his jets.
Anyways, I think that was a really good discussion, though. I think that was a fantastic discussion. Okay. Episode 32 was an interesting one. Now, shout out to you because you're the one who actually introduced us. I've had a friendship with Janine since then. Episode 32, Janine Driver, You Say More Than You Think, I think it was called, You Say More Than You Think. Of course, she is the founder and CEO of the Body Language Institute. She's been employed by the CIA, the FBI, the Department of Justice. She is a body language expert. This is Janine talking about the Felon's Claw. Okay, let's play the clip. This is really interesting, actually, the Felon's Claw.
I'm going to show you. My name's Janine. How I normally write my name is here to the left of your screen, almost like a cursive J, even if I'm printing, right? Mm-hmm. In high school, I remember writing my J's like this. It's called a Felon's Claw. And a Felon's Claw just means instead of having a normal downward stroke that's coming up, you go, if for J, you would do your J, and then you come straight down, and then you come up like a rainbow. So you go J, you do the top of the J, down straight, and then do like a little rainbow or a backwards N. And that would be my J. So that is called a Felon's Claw. So why is it called a Felon's Claw? Because almost every single person in jail, when they write a letter, their letters are full of Felon's Claws. Does it mean everyone who writes Felon Claws are in jail? No. What it means is remorse. It's guilt. It's I feel guilty about something. And when
Whoa, the Felon's Claw. Do you write with a Felon's Claw?
I don't think so.
I had to, write a few words out and actually take a look to see if I did write with a Felon's Claw, but it signifies remorse.
Nope, I don't write with a felon's claw.
Well, listen, I'm going to be paying attention now when I'm signing contracts with someone, right? Almost every criminal in jail has a felon's claw.
You should call them agreements.
Oh, okay. Agreements. Yeah. Thank you.
Agreements are mutual.
Listen, okay, we're going to play one more clip from Janine. This is a good one because she references Mr. Brad Lea. This is about smaller words, using smaller words. Listen to what she says. She definitely gives you flowers here, Brad.
Research shows the smaller the words you use, the more influential and the more people will remember. Our boy, Brad Lea, talked about how to be more successful is do better. You know, work harder, do better. I mean, that's it. That's what he does. That's what his big talk was at Grant Cardone's, 10X event. And he was the talk of the town because the smaller the word, as a matter of fact, if you want to influence people, take your big fancy words you're using, go to a thesaurus and find the same word or similar word and take the smallest amount of letters to actually influence people. So
there you go. Gave you a shout out. Did you know you were the talk of the town after the 10X conference?
Every one of them.
All right. But,
you know why, David Morrell?
You're going to tell us, Brad.
No, because when I go out on the stage, I'm not trying to sell you anything. I'm not trying to freaking be somebody I'm not. I'm trying to share with you what I believe to be real, and people are craving authenticity. So when I walk out there and tell you to, you're trying to be successful and you haven't even mastered brushing your teeth, everybody's like, holy shit. Everybody else is out there trying to say, and I'm out there trying to say, look, dude, don't worry about millions. Worry about brushing your teeth. Half of you that come up to me and want an opportunity, is coming out your freaking windpipes. Like, holy moly, dude, brush the teeth. Make your bed. Someone says, like the admiral that does make your bed. Same thing, man. Make your bed. You can't look here. You said before we started airing, and maybe we were airing this whole time. I don't know, but you said I look better. Well, let me tell you why, dude, because I used to connect being in shape to getting girls. And I'm married and I don't cheat. Why? Because if I cheat, I believe it's cheating myself. So I will not cheat. I'd divorce first. So at the end of the day, I would connect physical perfection to getting girls. Like what do I need a six-pack for, dude? I'm married. So I just couldn't connect the two. Well, I understand now after a little while that success takes discipline, period. You have to have discipline. You mentioned 75 hard. That's what it teaches you that you're capable of, is discipline. So one day I just sat there and I said, listen, dude, I can't believe that I can't get up in the morning and lift heavy things, because that's all it really requires. So instead of trying to figure out how to do this anymore, I'm just going to connect it to something else. And I thought to myself, dude, what's my real goal? My real goal is to hit $1 billion. I want to be a billionaire. There's only 2,600 of them in the world. It's the new millionaire, in my opinion. When I grew up, I was always impressed with the millionaires, but now a millionaire is just a normal person. I want to be a billionaire because that's the new millionaire. So I'm not stopping until I get there. And then I thought to myself, connect working out to making money. And I told myself from that day forward, you can ask anybody in my office. I just stopped. Next day, bang, bang, bang. Haven't even stopped. Haven't even thought about stopping. It's a lifestyle now. It's not a program. It's forever. It's not 75 days. It's forever. And all I did was I said, dude, if I can't get up and work out, I can't make $1 billion. And I made myself believe that, because I do believe that. And that was it. So if somebody's out there trying to find power and strength and fuel and motivation and inspiration to accomplish something like quit smoking, take that leap, whatever you're trying to accomplish, just attach it to something bigger. And 9 times out of 10, that will do the trick.
That's great advice. And that's why you should use smaller words. So I think that's good.
Smaller words, I don't know about all that,
well, simplifying, she talked about keeping it simple.
She's an expert, so I'd never question her, dude, but I can tell you this. Sometimes I feel like when I explain something and say ain't, I dropped out of school in the 11th grade. So maybe I got like still an insecurity that I'm not speaking at a collegiate level. I feel that you guys are instrumental in perpetuating the high quality image that I carry. Therefore, I think you should employ the thought of making me a permanent feature of the GPG podcast. Would that be a consideration? That's not real to me. Now, do I know the words? Yeah. But why would I use stupid words like that?
Yeah, well, you touched on a couple. One is the authenticity, right? If you talked like that, I would immediately pick up that you're being fake. Number two is sometimes we think we're being smart by using these big elaborate words. We're crafting these big long emails when in actuality, you're more effective by being simple in your speech and in your communication. I think it's more effective these days by keeping it simple. KISS, right? Keep it simple, stupid. KISS. Right. Yeah, so I think that's a good point. Okay, moving along. Speaking of 75 Hard, episode 33 was with mutual friend Andy Frisella in this episode. And of course, the reason why, I've talked to Andy quite a bit is because I actually did the 75 Hard, which we'll talk about in a minute here. But in this clip, Andy talks about the most profound piece of business advice he's ever received. What is it?
All right. Customer satisfaction is doing the bare minimum that you can do to not have that customer be mad. Customer loyalty is exceeding it so much that they'll never shop anywhere else. And so a lot of people have the goal of customer satisfaction when in truth, the customer loyalty should be the goal. And so that to me has been the most profound business concept that I've ever learned. And I can't remember exactly where I learned it, but that's it.
Me. He learned it from me. Hey, it's all right.
Dude, I just had a feeling you were about to say that.
I'm joking. Dude, listen, when it comes to Andy Frisella,
yeah,
I listen to every word the man says. Mm-hmm. Because, dude, he's number one, real AF. That's his podcast now. Mm-hmm. He's real. Mm-hmm. He's successful. He's demonstrated what he's talking about. His car collection is freaking cool. Like if I tried to build a car collection, I wouldn't know all the cool cars to buy. Like I'd have to look around and ask somebody else what's cool, which isn't cool at all, right? That dude, when you look up cool in the dictionary, there's a picture of Andy Frisella. Andy Frisella is cool. And let me tell you something, what he just said is like, wow, like that was good. Like, dude, I need to go join the Arate Syndicate, I think, just so I can listen to him and Ed.
Well, listen, it was such a profound clip. He's talking about the difference between customer satisfaction and customer loyalty. It's such a great way to think about the service you provide, right? Right? Is it just good enough or is it world-class to the point where you create this insane loyalty? I thought it was such a good clip to pull. Shout out to me for pulling that clip, Brad.
Good clip to pull, dude.
Yeah, I think so.
And for those of you that aren't following Mr. Andy Frisella, I would go follow him. He does drop a few F-bombs. He does keep it real language-wise. But, dude, he's built a huge company. I'll bet you anything that company will be at $1 billion or more soon, if not already. Mm-hmm. He's got racing teams. He's got, he helps people. He's got charities. He's got, that dude's the real deal.
Let's play one more clip from Andy. It's why he actually created 75 Hard.
And so how I came up with everything was basically me sitting down, laying out all the things that I think create the idea of mental toughness, okay? And then putting them into a program that forced the process onto the human brain. Now, a lot of people will say, well, 75 days is a long time. You're fucking right, it's a long time. That's the point. And they'll say, well, 2 workouts a day is really hard. No, it's supposed to be hard, right? We as men and women who want to improve have to understand that improving our brain is no different than improving our body. And we have all these different programs about lifting weights, making money, relationship advice, all the but if we could figure out how to get in control of this, none of these other things would even be necessary.
So listen, I did 75 Hard. It is 90% mental. It is. I mean, the physical part, yeah, but it's the mental, get off the couch, read the book, do all that stuff, drink the water. It was a game changer, to do it, to say I did it, push through. It is mental. I agree with everything you said there.
Yeah. I just don't think I need 75 Hard.
Okay, moving on to episode 34. This one's with marketing and ad guru Billy Jean. And
Billie Jean.
Billie Jean. Now, I had pulled actually 3 clips from this episode. We don't have time to play them, but he dropped a lot of knowledge on this episode. Like, it was a really good one. Brad, if you haven't listened to it, I think you should go back and listen to it. It's a really good episode. Anyways, specifically here talking about USPs, unique selling propositions. You and I were talking about it earlier. Listen to what Billie Jean says about USPs specifically as they relate to real estate.
I really challenge you to think of it like you guys want your sales to go through. Think of an offer that's different. I've done lead generation for, some of the largest franchises in the world. And I'll tell you, whenever we really get a campaign that's working, it's because the offer is different. Take a company and a franchise like McDonald's, right? And Subway, 2 of the biggest franchises in the world. I think Subway was first. But they've been selling the same thing for 100 years, however long they've been around, 50 or whatever it is, which is a burger and fries. Subway, it's a sandwich. So how do they keep you excited? They come up with new offers. Come in now and get the McRib. Come in now and get the McDouble, the McFlurry. Come in now and get 2 chicken nuggets for 39-cent cheeseburger day. Monopoly. Here's a Monopoly piece on our game now. But at the end of the day, what were they selling? Burger and fries. It didn't change. It didn't change. It's the same thing. It's burger and fries made the same way. But the offer and how you put it out to people needs to be different. And so I would challenge everybody right now to say your offer. Is it, do you want to buy this house? Okay, well, how good is that offer going to do right now? List with me because I care? Okay, well, find a real estate agent that says they won't care. Like, so that word, unique, selling position, like, is it unique though? Is it unique? Like, really push it. Is it unique? And if you're like having to rationalize and justify, like if it sounds like this, well, yeah, Stephen, it actually is unique because if you really think about it, you lost. You lost. Like if you're rationalizing and justifying your uniqueness, knock it off. You missed. Just do something else. Again, as I stated in the beginning, the only thing that stops the needle from moving is creativity.
Amazing. Well said by Billie Jean. Every industry is being disrupted by unique selling propositions. So you need to think about this stuff. It's very, very important. And to his point, the only thing that stops the needle from moving is creativity. And I agree with that. I think that's a really good point. That was a good episode. I really enjoyed that episode. Okay. We have a few more to get through, Brad. Where are we going next? We're going to episodes 35 and 36. We actually did a 2-parter with this next guest, the former boss of the Colombo crime family, Mr. Michael Francis, who's an actual character in Goodfellas. And here's what he's talking about in this clip is the accuracy of the movie Goodfellas. Let's see what he had to say. So speaking of Henry Hill, you knew Henry Hill personally, right?
Yes.
How accurate was the portrayal of Henry Hill in that movie?
Look, I always say this, and I don't mean to be offensive at all to Henry because I kind of liked him, He was kind of a poor soul, always, he had some habits that were, overwhelming to him at times. But I always say Henry never looked so good as he did in the movie Goodfellas. That's for sure. I mean, Ray Liotta did a brilliant job. And, it was, like I said, he looked really good in that movie.
Yeah. And the other guy, you get asked about him all the time, is Tommy DeSimone, right?
Yeah.
The character played by Joe Pesci. I know you get asked about him a lot, but what do you remember about him? Was he as crazy as they made him look in that movie?
He was. I didn't know him well, honestly, but he certainly had a reputation, and Henry talked to me about him a few times, But, I say this all the time, guys like him, and Pesci obviously brilliantly played that character. He plays everything brilliantly, no matter what role he's in, but especially the mob roles. But guys like that don't last in that life. They're just kind of loose cannons. And after a while, the hierarchy, they get fed up with him, and that's the end of that, and it's sad, but it's true. And it's, there's a lot of Tommy DeSimone types that met with similar fates in the end.
Yeah, interesting. So the bar beatdown with who is it? What was the name of the guy?
With Bats.
Yeah, Bats. Did that happen?
It did happen. Yeah, it didn't happen the way it happened in the movie. Like it didn't happen immediately, like it happened in the movie. But obviously, they take some dramatic liberty with the timeline. But yeah, that definitely happened, and he paid the price. DeSimone did later on.
Yeah, no kidding.
You don't mess with a made guy. Eventually, that's going to catch up with you.
Yeesh. Did you see Goodfellas, Brad?
Yes, sir.
It was a scary movie. Because it was real, Brad. It was real. And we heard, well, it was scary, Brad, because we heard from Michael's mouth the accuracy of the movie. They actually had his character in that movie, but Tommy DeSimone, Henry Hill, his dealings with them. And he also talked about not messing with a made man. And that's this next clip. Here's what he went through when he became a made man in the Mafia. Let's listen to what he had to say.
Yeah, it was. It's obviously a very secure meeting. I had been a recruit, meaning I'm making my way, trying to get let people understand that I'm worthy to be a member. And you don't know when it's going to happen because it is a secret ceremony. They don't tell you. And then one day I'm told, hey, meet me down at Carroll Street. That was the headquarters of the Colombo family at that time when Persico had taken over. And so I went there on October 31st, like any other day, but I kind of got the sense that something else was going on. And basically that night, I was brought to a catering hall that was owned by Joe Colombo's son, Anthony Colombo, called the Casabella. It was in Brooklyn, secure place. And with 5 other guys that night at about midnight, we all walked into a room individually and took an oath. And the way that happens is you walk into a room, it's dimly lit, late at night. They want you to understand the seriousness of what you're getting involved in. Boss is seated like at the head of a horseshoe configuration. Underboss consigliere to his left and right. And all the captains are allowed to come in on that ceremony. And I walked down the aisle, stood in front of the boss, held out my hand. He took a knife, cut my fingers. Some blood dropped on the floor. This is a blood oath. Cupped my hands, took a picture of a saint, Catholic altar card, put it in my hands and lit it aflame. It didn't hurt. It burnt quickly. It was merely symbolic. And he said, tonight, Michael Francis, you are born again into a new life, into Cosa Nostra. Violate what you know about this life, betray your brothers, and you will die and burn in hell like the saint is burning in your hands. Do you accept? Yes, I do. That's it. And then you're a made man.
So becoming a made man is always portrayed in the movies in different ways, right? But hearing from someone who's actually a made man sounds like a very dramatic ceremony on Halloween, burning a saint in your hand, drawing blood. It's very dramatic. Moving on. Episode 37 was somebody who you had as a recent guest, Mr. Chris Voss. Chris Voss. We just had Chris Voss on episode 37. In this clip, he's talking about being in negotiations up to 7 times a day. Not sure if he discussed this on your show. I'm sure he did, but here's what he had to say. Here's the clip.
If the words I want or I need are in your mind, if you're communicating with any sort of objective in mind, communicating to influence an outcome, you're in a negotiation and you may be communicating with a person whose behavior you want to influence or you want them to influence somebody. The question I throw out all the time is, are you in a negotiation when you're in a Starbucks? Are you in a negotiation when you order coffee at the end of an evening meal? Starbucks. I pose this. I know that there are Starbucks employees that give decaf to people they don't like. You think you're developing a tolerance for caffeine when in fact the way you handle that transaction influenced the outcome in a negative way. You never know.
Interesting. Talking about negotiating all the time and not even knowing it. Right. And he talks about Starbucks there. Do you think we're in negotiations up to 7 times a day?
Yes.
Okay. Moving on to the next clip. You're smarter when you're happier. Can we play that clip, Nathan? When we talk about positivity, though, you say that people are 31% smarter with a positive frame of mind. How does that relate to the negotiation process?
Yeah. So neurochemically, how do you get them to a positive frame of mind? There's some real quick hacks. Call out the negatives. Mm-hmm. We refer to the negatives as the elephant in the room. You never got rid of the elephant in the room by denying it was there. And you never actually got rid of it by ignoring it. It just didn't get worse, but it didn't go away. And actually, it's kind of, negatives in the room are kind of like tumors. They get worse if left alone. So first of all, call the negatives out. Secondly, there's a hardwire override. If I smile at you and you smile back, you didn't smile back at me because you're a nice guy, you are. Or if you heard a smile in my voice and it brought a smile to your face, it's actually a neurochemical reaction. I hit your mirror neurons. If you could see me, if you could hear me, I can hit your mirror neurons. It starts a chemical reaction in your brain. You cannot stop the chemical reaction from getting started. You can fight it, but if I keep it up, there's a guy in a storage unit that I used to rent when I was living in DC. Dude was negative. And one of those guys that he had the attitude that people were jerks and I'm going to be a jerk to you first, which will bring it out in you. That'll prove my hypothesis. I'd go and talk to that guy and I'd have a big smile on my face. Mm-hmm. And I'd say, hey, how's it going today? And it'd be like, fine. And I'd be like, I just, and by the time I'd hit him with a third smile, he was always smiling too. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to keep hitting this guy with smiles till it's contagious. And it is. And that's why, because of mirror neurons. And then I'm going to go along my way. And then it got to the point where since he expected to smile, as soon as I walked in the door, he'd see me coming, he'd break into a smile.
Okay. So would you agree that being positive is as important as Chris Voss is laying out?
Yes, if not more.
Yeah, because as you said there, you're 31% smarter when you're happier. I don't know how they track 31%.
They don't.
Smarter? Yeah, it seems like
statistics are made up on the spot. At least 72% are.
Well, it could be 78%. Can just make it up on the spot.
Just like 10 out of 7 people don't understand fractions.
But you know what, though? I thought that was an interesting number, though. 31% smarter. I don't know how they track that statistic.
Well, I think you're going to be happier if you're smarter, not smarter if you're happier. I think you're happier if you're smarter.
That's a good point. He also mentioned the hardwire overdrive, I think he called it, just smiling at someone, hitting their mirror neurons. It sounds simple but effective. Yeah.
No, just like a yawn.
Yeah.
Dude, you yawn in front of somebody is a CIA Secret Service way of finding out if somebody's looking at you. So if you're like at a party and you want to know if a girl's looking at you or if someone's looking at you when you're not looking at them, yawn and then look at them. If they yawn, they were looking at you.
Ooh, it's a Brad Lea hack right there, everyone. It's a Brad Lea hack. Interesting. Okay, the last episode we're going to cover. This is the last episode. This is with our friend Ryan Serhant.
You interviewed Justin Bieber?
No.
Oh, by the way, did you hear what's going on?
What?
With Bieber?
No. What's going on?
I don't know. That's just what everybody's talking about. Like, supposedly, dude, he gets his peaches from Georgia. Did you know that? And he smokes weed, apparently gets that out of California. And then he's got some badass that he takes up north somehow.
I was actually expecting some piece of info that we just hadn't heard in the last few minutes, but that's
everybody's talking about this, dude. Literally, he gets his peaches up in Georgia. Yeah, that's right.
Are you a new real estate agent or thinking about getting a real estate license? If so, you're going to want to ask about the Greater Property Group's Agent Scholarship Program. Why pay for the cost of the course yourself when the Greater Property Group will subsidize the cost for you? Make sure you reach out and get all the details on the Greater Property Group's Agent Scholarship Program. Two-time guest alumni, Mr. Ryan Serhant. This episode, we're not going to play the original, the first time he was on, but this episode was more recent. He had just released the book, Big Money Energy. And in this clip, he's talking about Tom Brady winning the Super Bowl. How did Tom Brady win the Super Bowl?
Tom Brady does, right? And we watched it in the Super Bowl, right? That guy believes without a single bit of hesitation since the day he started playing football that he is the absolute best and everyone should be worried. He just believes it. Super nice about it, but he believes it to the point where other players playing against him get on the field and their confidence is rattled because they're like, holy shit, maybe he is, maybe I'm not. Yeah. And then the Kansas City Chiefs played the worst game of their entire season because they were going up against a guy where in their mind, they weren't thinking about playing good. In their mind, I'm telling you, every single one of them was, dude, Tom Brady took the Buccaneers to the Super Bowl. Instead of focusing on themselves and how great they were, they came into that game on defense, right? Nervous about the other guy, and it works. It's crazy.
Listen, that was a crazy win by Mr. Tom Brady, and I agree with Serhant said there, right? He got in the head of the Kansas City Chiefs. Do you agree, Brad Lea?
Well, I mean, he got in the heads. But what does that even mean? He got in their heads. He was just him. He was in his head. Yes. He won because he saw it. He believed. Yes. But he didn't put in nobody's head. Okay. They put it there themselves. And that's the freaking lesson.
And that's another soundbite. Thank you, Brad. Fantastic. Okay, here's the final clip from Serhant talking about success. And actually, I'm gonna ask you about what you say about success being like a combination lock. I've heard you say this before, but
oh yes.
Okay, yes. But here's what Ryan Serhant had to say about success.
You want to set realistic goals, and you then want to break it down to what you have to do every single day to get there, right? It's not enough just to say, I want to sell X every year, or I want my company to get to Y. Do the reverse math and figure out what that means for you every month, every week, and every day, so that you actually have an action plan. Because I don't do anything in a week, right? I do everything in a minute. Things take minutes. That's why I'm so focused on my 1,000-minute rule. But I know that to hit my goals this year and to do them, right, I want to do 60 million a month. I want to bring on a new agent who has at least 5 years experience once a week, amongst other things. And they are written on a whiteboard, and they're in my peripherals. They're like literally right there. You can actually can you see it? It's like right there. Well, you can't see it, but it's like right there. And as they change, I can adapt them and I can move them, but I'm moving towards a finish line, right? And that's what success is. It's doing what you say you're going to do.
So
that's an opinion.
It's an opinion, yeah. And I do like what he said about setting realistic goals and then reverse engineering it. I do believe in that. But I also like what you say about success being like a combination lock.
Here's what I mean when I do the combination thing.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks that there's some sort of key, like a single thing that can change everything. And if there is a key, it is in your mindset, 100%. But there is no key. There is a combination, and it's a combination of things, and everyone has their own combination. Why? Well, because I know a buddy of mine that thinks going out and getting lucky on the weekends is awesome. And like every freaking weekend, dude, he goes out and finds a girl, brings her home, and then freaking says, yeah, I'm crushing it. Okay, now personally, I don't think that's freaking success. I think that's dangerous. I think it's stupid. And I don't think that's successful at all. In fact, I think that's an insecure. I think you're a loser. Now, that's my thought. Dude, if you think that's successful, good for you. But that's my point. Everybody has their own idea of what success is. And you have to go worry about how to get what you think successful. And it's your combination. It's not David Morrell's conversation. It isn't Ryan Serhant's conversation. It isn't Nathan Singh's combination. It's your combination. See, people just need to quit, looking outward for change. Okay. You look outward for information. You look inward for change.
That's Brad's explanation of success. I love that breakdown, though. That's always stuck with me, to be honest with you. When I heard you describe it the first time, it's always stuck with me. I thought that was really profound.